Matt Stepp with Dave Campbell's Texas Football here at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio at the UIL Boys State Championships. I'm here with Dave Campbell's social media strategist Ishmael Johnson and editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Basketball, Ishmael Johnson. After the Dallas Kimball Knights conclude the day on Friday with the dominant 71-48 win over Houston, Washington in the 4A Division I State Championship. In the earlier game today, we had the Kennedale Wildcats making it a DFW sweep, knocking off Houston Wheatley 69-65 in a thriller and ish. Let's start first off with the early game. Kennedale knocking off Wheatley 69-65. You know, I felt like coming in, a lot of the statewide media kind of thought Kennedale was a little bit of an underdog here. Mm-hmm. They kind of played with that mentality in a real, just a entertaining back and forth game.
Yeah, full disclosure, I thought this would be a Wheatley runaway. This was one of the games that I was not necessarily thinking would be very competitive. It seemed like Wheatley was a team that had just too much in terms of tempo, in terms of depth, and you saw the Yates game and then eventually the Silsby game as well. They outran teams. And I thought that this was kind of a mix of that. Full credit to Kennedale, who not only matched their tempo, matched their physicality, matched their athleticism, right? But then in the end, out-executed them, right? Yep. And when you were on the call for that game on NFHS, and as you saw, there were times where you can see Wheatley trying to get the ball out, trying to keep the tempo going, and it was Kennedale that was giving them fits. Yep. And having them turn the ball over. I mean, we can shout out the dude Trey Smith, the MVP of that game. 20 points and 10 steals. You heard of 2010 games, but never the 10 steals.
Yeah, that's different.
He was sensational in this game, but also Kennedale's defense entirely just frustrated Wheatley down the stretch. They couldn't really get those outlet balls going that they typically do. And yeah, I mean, it was that was the most impressive game I think so far. We talked about dominant performances early on, but most impressive, it was Kennedale, and that was by far the best game of the weekend, too.
Early on, Wheatley was going to run away. They ran out to a 9-0 lead, and Kennedale kind of had trouble with Wheatley's ball pressure, doubling the ball. Yep. Once Kennedale settled down, and I think you mentioned it, Trey Smith, who's going to play quarterback for the Wildcats in football next year, displayed that leadership ability. He kind of took in the first quarter, he really took things over and kind of steadied the ship for Kennedale. He really was unbelievable, a deserving MVP for the Kennedale Wildcats, their second state title in school history. Yeah. Kind of a burgeoning power there in DFW in the 4A ranks. But the power in the 4A ranks in DFW in the state is the Dallas Kimball Knights, who make it a DFW sweep over Houston with a dominant 71-48 win over Houston Booker T. Washington, Kimball's 8th state title in school history. And I think the Knights left no doubt tonight.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a reason why Nick Smith and Kimball are right now they're probably the standard of, boys basketball in at least in the DFW area for sure. Look, let's put it this way. They have a Vanderbilt signee in Jalen Vinesdeans, UAB signee in Lance Carr, and the best player was sophomore Mario Wickler.
He was unbelievable.
Yeah. MVP of the game, 21 points. I believe added about 3-4 assists, maybe even 5 assists. I can't remember exactly. No, 5 steals, 7 rebounds, and about 3-4 assists.
Probably 5 dunks too.
Yeah, he dunked. I was talking with Aaron, who's shooting social content for us, and he was talking. He's like, I don't know what to send you because there's so much. And then Danny, our other videographer, was like, yeah, what do you want? Like, there's so much.
Send it all.
It's a dunk package. Like, if you've seen Kimball this year, they love the Showtime style.
They play above the rim for sure.
Play above the rim. Above the rim. Credit to Nick Smith, like he coaches, allowing that athleticism and that talent to kind of flourish, right? You see him, he's very, very animated, but they run sets to set up these lobs. They run every time they get on the fast break,
it's not undisciplined basketball at all. They are running sets to set those plays that are taking advantage. And then I love how Kimball, and I saw Kimball in the area round playoff game with Frisco Panther Creek. Yeah, their defense, they will get in your grill on defense. They held a explosive Booker T. Washington team to 48 points. They're big, they're physical. They look like a football team out there. They really do. I know Coach Smith works them out hard. They lift weights like a football team, and it shows because they are physical and they dominate and they just get up in you. They just don't let you do anything.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a good point about the weight room because I saw Mario Wickler last year. I called the game. I think it was against Beaumont United. And he was not the same player. Again, he's a freshman coming up from 8th grade. Sure, one thing, but he took a step this year. He's a different player, and you mentioned it. All those guys are big, right? Washington had some tall players, but they weren't big players. They were tall players, and
they weren't explosive like Kimball.
They weren't explosive like Kimball's player. It just
putting in the work.
It was just a different level. And you saw again, this is a team in Kimball that dominated in 5A for a bit, right? Yeah. And so they dropped down to 4A D1, and I don't think it's a surprise that they were very dominant in 4A D1. I mean, look, with Mari Wickware there, right, as a sophomore, and Coach Smith can continue to build a team around him. That's obviously Kimball's going to be a contender regardless. But if you have him as like a focal point going forward, I mean, we're going to see them probably in this conversation for the next 2 years at the very least. And, you know, of course, as long as Nick Smith is still there.
And you know, we have 4 more games tomorrow, but I think Kimball can make a case as the best team in the state of Texas. They beat Duncanville in non-district, who, by the way, is playing for the 6A Division I state championship in the season finale tomorrow night at 7. So I think the Dallas Kimball Knights at least have a case as the best team in the state of Texas.
I was going to say, pound for pound, probably the best team in the state of Texas. This is also, look, we saw the Arterio Morris teams as well, the ones that went head-to-head with United and the Terrence Arsenault, Wesley Yates.
Great games.
Great games. I think I walked away with those teams saying, man, those might, at least modern era, those might be some of the best Kimball teams. This one might be the best Kimball team of this era, current era of Kimball.
They were fun to watch. Congrats to the Kimball Knights, the Kennedale Wildcats for ending session 2 with state championships. So DFW gets 2 state championships. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We got 4 more state title games in the big boy classes, 5A and 6A. We'll be back at TexasFootball.com and Dave Campbell's Texas Football, all your social media channels with more coverage from the UIL State Basketball Championships.